In this episode, I'll explain preparations being made for the first ever civilian EVA. I'll also deliver big news for companies working towards space situational awareness and orbital transfer capabilities. All this and more. Welcome to the Undiscovered Country. Hello and welcome to the Undiscovered Country. I am your host, Bryant A.M. Baker. Today, I'll present the top 5 most important things happening in the world of space. Let's get started.
Number 5.
The crew of the Polaris Dawn mission, which is scheduled to launch no earlier than March of 2023, underwent crucial tests before its first ever private extravehicular activity, or EVA, also known as a spacewalk. This mission is part of the Polaris program, which is a series of 3 crewed launches, and was announced by billionaire and entrepreneur Jared Isaacman on February 14th of 2022 in partnership with SpaceX. The first mission of this program will see a team of 4 astronauts climb to the highest ever low Earth orbit and spend 5 days conducting science experiments. In preparation for the Polaris Dawn mission's planned spacewalk, the crew participated in a decompression sickness risk characterization study in the 20-foot chamber at NASA's Johnson Space Center. The Dawn crew will attempt the world's first commercial spacewalk at an altitude of approximately 700 kilometers from Earth, after being launched aboard SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It would also mark the first instance when the team will don the brand new SpaceX-designed spacesuit and test Starlink laser-based communications in space. Interestingly, the third and final mission of the program would see a new crew launch aboard Starship, SpaceX's fully reusable mega-rocket designed to carry crew and cargo both to LEO, as well as to the Moon and even Mars.
Number 4.
Airbus Defence and Space is joining a commercial space station project led by Voyager Space, a move that could potentially make it easier for European governments to use the station after the retirement of the International Space Station. Denver-based Voyager Space announced on January 4th a partnership with Airbus on its Starlab commercial space station project. Airbus will provide technical design support and expertise for Starlab, the company said, but did not disclose any additional details about the partnership or financial terms. Voyager Space announced plans for Starlab in October 2021, working with Lockheed Martin. Starlab, as described at the time, would feature an inflatable module, docking node, and bus, capable of hosting up to 4 astronauts at a time. Dylan Taylor, chairman and chief executive of Voyager Space, said in the announcement that, working with Airbus, we will expand Starlab's ecosystem to serve the European Space Agency and its member state space agencies to continue their microgravity research in LEO. Jean-Marc Nasser, Executive Vice President of Space Systems at Airbus Defence and Space, said in the same statement that this collaboration is an important step in making Starlab a reality, providing a foundation for long-lasting European and American leadership in space.
Number 3.
Since last summer, Jupiter's third largest moon, Io, has been lighting up the Jovian system with a major burst of volcanic activity. As the solar system's most volcanically active world, Io is no stranger to such outbursts, but this year's display has been unusually energetic. Researcher Jeff Morgenthaler, who has been observing Io's volcanism since 2017, says this is the largest volcanic outburst he's seen yet. Morgenthaler's observations are taken with the Planetary Science Institute's Small-Scale Io Input-Output Observatory, or IOIO. It goes through phases of volcanic activity on an almost yearly basis, and the eccentricity of its orbit and close proximity to the strong gravity of Jupiter causes the moon to bulge and compress continuously, adding energy to the world in a process known as tidal heating. This same process is responsible for the liquid subsurface oceans with nearby moon Europa. But Io is closer to its planet and has a rockier composition, resulting in extensive lava flows, eruptions, and violent crust upheavals. These extreme volcanic conditions affect more than just the moon's surface. Io's surface gravity is low enough, just slightly stronger than the gravity of Earth's moon, that some of the gases and light materials from Io's volcanoes can escape into orbit around Jupiter. Largely consisting of ionized sulfur, this material forms a donut-shaped ring around Jupiter, known as the Io plasma torus.
Number 2.
Canada's Northstar Earth and Space said on January 5th it has raised $35 million ahead of plans to deploy its first 3 satellites this year for tracking objects in orbit. Northstar aims to use proceeds to accelerate plans for a constellation of 24 space situational awareness satellites, which would scan out from low Earth orbit to track other satellites and debris. The company hopes to track objects as small as 1 centimeter in LEO, about 7 centimeters in medium Earth orbit, or MEO, and somewhere between 50 and 40 centimeters even further out in geostationary orbit. Northstar CEO Stuart Bain said a U.S. government pilot project that picked Northstar and 5 other commercial firms in December to prototype space traffic data platforms helped highlight commercial space situational awareness opportunities and attract business. It's not like we weren't already contacting both government and private sector operators, but that really got people to wake up and say, wow, here we go. Luxembourg-based satellite operator SES last year announced plans to use Northstar's data to help manage its fleet of satellites in GEO and MEO. Bain said a space development fund supported by SES and Luxembourg's government participated in Northstar's Series C funding round. Other investors included the government of Quebec and a family-owned Canadian technology fund called Telesystem Space.
Number 1.
Impulse Space said its Leo Express 1 mission, using a transfer vehicle it is developing called Mira, is manifested for launch on SpaceX's Transporter 9 rideshare mission, currently scheduled for launch in the 4th quarter of 2023. Barry Matsumori, Chief Operating Officer of Impulse Space, said that the mission profile is still being finalized, but he said the vehicle, after making some initial deployments, may raise its orbit, then lower it to demonstrate operations in what's known as very low Earth orbit, around 300 kilometers. The performance of Mira depends on how much payload it is carrying, but he estimated that the vehicle can provide about 1,000 meters per second of delta V, or in other words, change in velocity, with a payload of 300 kilograms. Its propulsion system using storable propellants has been extensively tested with more than 1,000 seconds of runtime, while other elements of the vehicle are in various stages of design and manufacturing. Matsumori said the company is seeing growing demand for in-space transportation services. The market for customers for either LEO transfers or other orbit transfers is developing at about the same pace as the in-space transportation capabilities are developing. In the last 3 months, we've seen many more customers than we did in the prior 6 months. Thank you for joining me. Links to all the stories are in the description. Keep ahead of all of the most important things happening by watching the other recent episodes that I've put together for you. I would love to hear your thoughts on everything that we talked about here today. I am honored to be a part of this community of citizens in this undiscovered country of ours, and I'll see you again next time.